Time's expired. Before I recognize Mr. Palmer, I'd like to enter into the record the testimony of Tony Bobulinski with the committee on February 13th, 2024. It corrects the record of Representative Garcia's, who did not provide your entire testimony. On page 147, you told the committee about your understanding of who invited you to the events referenced by Mr. Garcia. So without objection, I'd like to enter into the record the entire transcribed interview of Tony Bobulinski.
And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to enter for the record an article from today's Daily Beast entitled "Texts Reveal More Russia Ties for Key Anti-Biden Witness Bobulinski."
Okay, Daily Beast. Without objection. Chair now recognizes Mr. Palmer from Alabama for 5 minutes.
Mr. Bobulinski, I have very limited time and I want to get through a lot of information, so please answer these questions with a yes or no, if you don't mind. You have met Joe Biden, isn't that correct?
Correct.
In fact, you had a meeting with Joe Biden, isn't that correct?
2 of them.
One of those times was before the Milken Conference in Los Angeles, May of 2017, is that correct?
It was during the Milken Conference.
You provided a great deal of documentation to this committee. I want to show you some messages between you and Hunter Biden, be on the screen here, in May of 2017 before you first had a meeting with Joe Biden. These are messages between you and Hunter Biden dated May 2nd, 2017. Do you recognize these?
I do.
At the bottom, Hunter wrote, "Dad, not in now until 11. Let's me and Jim meet at 10 at Beverly Hilton where he's staying." Jim is James Biden, President Biden's brother. Is that correct?
Correct.
The next set of messages is, if you put those on screen, is between another business associate of Hunter Biden's and you. His name is James. Do you recognize it?
I do.
At the top, you write, "About to meet Hunter, Jim, and I guess Joe at Beverly Hilton Hotel." Joe is now President Joe Biden. Is that correct?
Correct.
This chat between you and Joe Biden, Jim Biden, Joe Biden's brother, you write to Jim, "Great to meet you and spend some time together. Please thank Joe for this time. It was great to talk. Thanks, Tony B." You met with Joe Biden, Hunter Biden, and Jim Biden the night before the Milken Conference in 2017. Is that correct?
I did, and Jim Biden perjured himself by trying to deny that
Thank
meeting.
you, Mr. Bobulinski. That was at the Beverly Hilton, correct?
Correct.
You can provide more details around that meeting. What was the purpose of that meeting?
I didn't ask for the meeting, so I wish Hunter Biden was sitting next to me and he could under oath describe it. But the only reason why I was meeting with Joe Biden and the only reason why I was there is because I was the CEO of the enterprise that they were putting together with the Chinese company CFC.
So can you give me a little more detail about what was discussed in the meeting?
Well, as I said earlier, before Joe Biden showed up, Hunter and Jim Biden coached me, said a sort of outline that we wouldn't go into a lot of details. So through the 45 to 60-minute meeting I had with Joe Biden, I think it was about 10:40 p.m. after he flew across country, we talked about my background, my family's military background, the different business ventures I'd done around the world, the family I worked with. Joe spent time talking about his family, some of the tragedies that they had lived through. And at a high level, Hunter actually introduced me to Joe because before Joe came and sat down with us, Hunter said, "Hey, give me 5 to 10 minutes. I need to read my father in on it."
So when you're referencing Joe and Hunter's father, you're referencing President Joe Biden.
I am.
Correct. These 4 images, well, in this message you sent to James again, you said you spent more time with Joe and Jim this morning, and to be factually correct, that's President Joe Biden and James Biden, his brother. Also saw them last night, including Hunter. These 4 images show a pretty clear record of your meeting with Joe Biden in May of 2017, Mr. Bobulinski. Hunter Biden, during his transcribed interview, testified that the meeting did in fact take place. And after being asked, did Mr. Bobulinski meet with your father during the trip, Hunter stated he met with him in the lobby of the hotel. When asked who attended the meeting, Hunter replied, "My uncle and myself." But when asked whether the meeting at the Beverly Hilton between Joe Biden, Jim Biden, Hunter Biden, and Tony Bobulinski took place, Jim Biden testified, "Absolutely not." These stories don't match up. Mr. Chairman, Jim Biden also told the committee that Joe Biden did not meet the Chinese businessman Xi Jinping. Rob Walker, by known as a friendly witness committee, said the opposite. So, Mr. Chairman, it appears to me that there are material inconsistencies between the witnesses' testimony. These witnesses' statements appear to me to be irreconcilable. In short, Mr. Chairman, someone appears to be lying to the committee. The inconsistent testimony seems to come from Jim Biden, the president's brother. Lying to Congress is a serious offense, Mr. Chairman, a criminal one, in fact. And if the Bidens or anyone else has come before this committee and lied to this committee, I strongly encourage the committee to pursue criminal referrals to the Department of Justice. One last thing that I want to ask, and Mr. Bobulinski or Mr. Galinas, have either of you heard of any offer of a pardon for anyone involved or associated with or partner to the Biden family enterprise corruption investigation?
I'm sorry, there was a question. Have I heard
you
anything
heard of anyone being suggested that a pardon might be in order for anyone associated with this enterprise?
I have not.
Thank you, Mr. Bobulinski. Thank you, Mr.
Minutes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Glad it's so quiet in here. On the first day of the Biden presidency, then Press Secretary Jen Psaki claimed that President Biden's objective and his commitment was to bring, quote, transparency and truth back to government, to share the truth even when it's hard to hear. That is obviously laughable, just about as laughable as when Hunter Biden claimed that he was trying to avoid wire fees when he had Rob Walker launder a $1 million payment from a Chinese company through 16 different bank wires to Hunter, Hallie, and Jim Biden's accounts. If you're trying to avoid wire fees, then why send 4 different wires over 3 months to the same account? It's a total joke. A glaring example of President Biden's failure to live up to his promise to bring transparency is his influence peddling in Ukraine, where he pressured the Ukrainian government to fire Prosecutor General Viktor Shokin, who was investigating the owner of Burisma. While Joe Biden was vice president in 2014, his son Hunter Biden was asked by Burisma's owners to join the board, a paid position. The committee has sought documents from the administration regarding Vice President Biden's influence peddling in the Ukraine. The administration, which claims transparency, has failed to produce these documents. I'll give you an example. On September of 2015, the United States was steadfast in its belief that the owner of Burisma was the face of corruption in Ukraine. The administration vowed to work with the Prosecutor General to tackle corruption in the country. However, that all changed after a phone call from Hunter Biden and the owner of Burisma to Hunter's Washington, D.C. associates in 2015. A few days later, Vice President Biden delivered a speech to the Ukrainian legislature and privately pressured the Ukrainian president to fire the Prosecutor General. The Oversight Committee has asked the White House for drafts of Vice President Biden's speech to the Ukrainian legislature from 2015. They have withheld those draft speeches for nearly 7 months. To this date, we have not been able to review them. We all want to know whether there were edits to the speech after Hunter called D.C. We all want to know whether the then Vice President, changed course to protect his son and his corrupt business associates. We all want to know whether the Biden family's business dealings affected American policy towards the Ukraine. The White House claims to be committed to bringing truth and transparency to government. It just seems like it's only interested when it's convenient for his administration. Now, Mr. Bobulinski, did Hunter ever tell you at any point the value of the Burisma income to him?
I was not involved in Burisma. I don't recall him ever mentioning that to me.
Okay, did he ever say it was his only income at that time?
Oh, okay. Actually, I stand corrected. There's a text message. I never discussed it with him. I was in Monaco at the Grand Prix. He was in Monaco for the Burisma board meeting. He set up a meeting with me. He didn't show up at that meeting. Obviously, you can imagine I wasn't too happy. And he responded to a text me asking him what's going on. And in that text, he states he's on the back of Kola's yacht fighting for the only income he has, but it wasn't from Burisma, it's from the Kazakh deal that he's talking about. I never discussed that with him after that. That was a single exchange between him and I.
No. Corruption and a lack of transparency from the Biden family have been common themes through the House Oversight Committee's investigation. And even when asking for simple drafts of then Vice President Biden's speech in the Ukraine, the White House has been anything but transparent. President Biden has done and will continue to do everything in his power to cover up the truth, especially when it's hard to hear. And I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
The gentleman yields back. Mr. Bobulinski yields back to me for 1 minute. Is there anything that you want to respond to? No, you don't worry about Mr. Goldman. We don't pay any attention to Mr. Goldman either. But is there anything that anyone said up here that you want to take about 55 seconds to respond to?
It's tempting. I mean, my biggest appeal to everyone in this room is I wish you would spend the time focusing on the fact that the Chinese Communist Party infiltrated the White House of the United States of America through the Biden family. I don't say that lightly. It's not a joke. I was willing to die for this country, as was my father and both my grandfathers and my brother. This is serious, serious stuff. We should be asking how that happened. Take the Biden name and the Biden family completely out of it. How did the Chinese Communist Party infiltrate the White House of the United States of America? Let's start there, focus on those facts, what they did, how they did it, why they used money, why they used private enterprises instead of military stuff and other stuff. That is huge to our national security. So I appreciate you yielding that time to me, Mr. Chairman.
Well, thank you, and I'll just say this. Mr. Tlaib and Ms. Presley criticized the investigation.
Gió lạnh lạnh buồn ơi, khuya nay anh đi rồi, bao nhớ nhung xa vời, ôi nói không nên lời để cạn niềm yêu mến anh. Phút gần gũi này thôi, khuya nay anh đi rồi, tay nắm tay không rời, mắt ngắm xa chân trời, mà lòng nghe nhớ thương hoài. Anh ơi, chớ quên ngày mai đã có em chờ anh, chung xây đẹp ý đời. Tương lai e ấp trên môi, yêu nhau ta thầm nói, nụ cười trao duyên mới, ước vọng để mà vui. Khuya nay anh đi rồi, đem chí trai xây đời, đem mến thương cho người người đợi chờ anh ơi. Phút gần gũi này thôi, khuya nay anh đi rồi, tay nắm tay không rời, mắt ngắm xa chân trời, mà lòng nghe nhớ thương